The night wasn't screaming, no, it just thrummed low and electric like the moment a trap snaps shut and you realize you're already caught. One blinding white floodlight split the blackness of Raven's Peak. And there she was, pinned up against my porch, frozen exposed, just another secret dragged out into the open for everyone to see. Not some stealthy trespasser, no Lorraine apprentice standing in a suit so perfect it could have sold you alone, shaking like a leaf and staring straight into the maw of my security system. The biometric scanner pulsed red, bathing her face in a color you never want to see when you're the one on the spot. Then that voice came mechanical, colder than a Colorado winter. Alert. Biometric match confirmed. Lorraine apprentice. Level 5 intruder. Law enforcement dispatched. Countermeasures engaged. The forest itself seemed to tense up. Lorraine let out a scream sharp enough to slice through the pines, but the sirens from the sheriff's cruisers drowned her out before the echo even died. Sheriff Elias was first out of the cruiser, hand on his holster, confusion flickering across his face before his training kicked in. "Get on the ground!" he shouted just as Lorraine scrambled to her feet, pointing a finger my way. "He's insane. He's rigged this place with military weapons." I didn't step out right away. I let her words twist in the cold air, let the drama play out, coffee mug still in hand, steam curling up like I was watching a play and not the finale to months of nerves. Lorraine was shrieking, "He targeted me. I'm the HOA president. He treated me like a criminal." But I just took a slow sip, letting the warmth settle inside, grounding myself. "Sheriff, she's not a victim. She's data. And she just signed her own warrant." That was the end game, but rewind 72 hours and this whole thing looked like a different story. See, quiet like you find up here isn't given, it's taken. You buy it with the scars from running, or if you're lucky, by being the last bidder at a very secret auction. I'd driven 3 states for this chunk of silence, more road dust than paint left on my pickup boots, crunching gravel that hadn't felt tires in years. I wasn't scoping the view, I was scanning for bugs, for lines of sight, for the kind of invisible tech you only find if you're looking. The listing asset forfeiture. No pictures, no history. Just as is, and a warning. For most folks, that's the end. For me, that's an invitation. I was expecting an empty cabin and a fight with the generator. What I found was a lock, drilled out marks on the floor where something heavy had been dragged away, and buried deep in the doorframe a dusty old microphone. Someone sometime had wanted to know everything that happened here. They'd left a trail. I just needed to find the end. Sun was going down when the SUV arrived, white as a dentist's smile, way too clean for mountain roads. Lorraine stepped out heels at first, then the rest of her looking like HOA royalty here to perform a coronation. Didn't even bother with a neighborly wave, just shoved a tablet in my face. "You're late," she said. "Bylaw this, regulation that. Master key now." I almost laughed. "Excuse me." She rattled off rules and authority, palm out, expecting me to drop my defenses like a kid caught skipping class. She kept pressing, demanding that key, insisting the house fell under her jurisdiction because of some charter she said the HOA absorbed a few years back. But I'd done my homework. Show me the signature. Show me the owner who handed you this property. She had nothing but bluster. When I told her flat out, "You're not getting a key," she scribbled my plate down with a promise 24 hours to comply or you're a liability. Then she peeled away, leaving the air thick with the scent of trouble and expensive perfume. That's when I pulled out the Sentinel system. A rig meant less for keeping folks out and more for figuring out who wanted in and why. Drilling it in, I found that old mic. Left it there. Sometimes you learn more by watching who listens. I uploaded Lorraine's board photo smile like a shark eyes that missed nothing into the Sentinel, tagged her as a level 5 threat, and waited. When the generator kicked on and the system booted up, I went digging for her online. The HOA website was a testament to sanitized suburbia. All smiles, no truth. The next morning, the siege began. No water in the pipes, a big yellow padlock on the community valve, and a rainbow of violation notices slapped on my window, unauthorized security modifications, aesthetic disharmony, total fines, bon $500. Lorraine was playing the classic starve 'em out, fine 'em to death, force a surrender. She made one fatal mistake. She assumed I needed her grid. I didn't even touch the padlock. Instead, I dug up the old cistern, a 10,000-gallon relic feeding off a spring, predating her whole regime. 3 hours later, I had water back off grid, and every violation logged as harassment evidence. That's when the email came, an official-sounding threat to slap a lien on my place if I didn't surrender the key by 5:00 p.m. She was desperate. Way too desperate for just a lock. I shot back, try it. Then I spent the day wiring the Sentinel into the lights in a new PA system. If Lorraine wanted a showdown, I'd make it a public one. Midnight in the mountains is another kind of black, and that night I sat in the dark watching my monitors waiting. At 2:14 a.m., the driveway camera tripped. Lorraine, now in boots and a long coat with a locksmith in tow. The audio feed picked up her hiss, drill it out. Don't ask questions. The guy hesitated, not wanting to trigger any extra alarms, but Lorraine was single-minded, get under those floorboards no matter what. When her face hit the scanner, the system lit up like the 4th of July. Floodlights blinded them. The PA blared intruder detected. Biometric match. Evidence recording initiated. Law enforcement dispatched. Lorraine panicked, called 911, claiming I'd attacked her. It was bold, desperate, and exactly the play I needed. 8 minutes later, Sheriff Elias rolled up blue and red lights slicing through the trees. Lorraine tried to sell her version, gas leak, ambush, whatever lie came quickest. I waited, let the drama play, then offered up the proof, full 4K video of her ordering a break-in. The audio clear as day. Elias watched it twice. Then when I showed him the digital trail, an encrypted uplink hidden in the house transmitting data at 3 a.m. for 5 years, everything clicked. Inside, under the floorboards, we found a lead-lined compartment stacked with ledgers, hard drives, evidence of millions in embezzled HOA funds, all stashed by Lorraine, thinking she could keep this place as her vault. It turned out the regulations were a cover for one of the oldest plays in the book, skimming off the top, using fear and paperwork to keep everyone silent. Elias cuffed Lorraine right there. She screamed about property values, about how she ran this mountain, but the only thing she ran was a scheme. When she looked at me, really looked, she realized she'd never seen me coming. I showed her my badge, a state forensic auditor, not a recluse, not a victim, but the storm she'd tried to ignore until it was right in her face. They hauled her away. The forensics team swarmed the cabin. For 3 days, the mountain buzzed with the hum of officialdom. Neighbors trickled up the drive, their relief as raw as their disbelief. They'd been bled dry for years, fines for wood piles, curtain colors, whatever Lorraine could monetize. We thought it was law, one said. No, I told him it was leverage. The state took over, the board dissolved, regulations put on hold, money on its way home after a long trip through offshore accounts. I sat on my tailgate drinking coffee, watching the mountain breathe for the first time in years. When the last official left, I wiped the Sentinel clean, pulled out the scanner, and installed an ordinary lock. One you open with a key, not a fingerprint. I handed that key to the neighbor who'd suffered the worst. This is just a tool, I said. Opens a door, closes a door. Use it for the community. Make the place yours again. I packed my truck, one more anomaly solved, one more shadow lifted. As I pulled away, window down, I told them, if anyone asks for a copy, tell them to get a warrant. They laughed. For the first time, it sounded like freedom. Driving down the mountain, I knew Lorraine was cooling her heels in County Orange, probably still demanding to speak to a manager. I didn't feel joy, I felt balance. Sometimes karma looks a lot like a handcuff. So here's the thing. People talk a lot about justice, about rules and order, but sometimes all it takes to keep the peace is showing the world your door has teeth. Makes you wonder, where's the line between security and control, between protecting a community and ruling it through fear? Tell me, if you were in my boots, how far would you go for a little peace and quiet? When does defending what's yours cross the line? Drop your thoughts below. Share your own run-ins with power gone wrong. Let's talk justice. Let's talk right and wrong. And if you've got a story about fighting back, well, I'd love to hear it.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video. Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.